Hello and welcome to the Acting Coach Network podcast. I'm your host, Savannah Madden, acting coach, award-winning theatre school owner and business coach for performing arts professionals who want more time, more income and zero burnout. My guest today is someone who understands from the inside out what it means to juggle a creative business, a team, a passion for performance and the ever-changing, often overwhelming world of social media. Audrey Elizabeth is a social media strategist who helps business owners show up online with confidence, clarity, and consistency without losing themselves in the scroll. She's the founder of Audrey Elizabeth, the social coach, where she supports clients across all industries to grow their presence and income on social media using sustainable strategies rooted in structure, not stress. But what makes Audrey's perspective especially powerful and especially relevant for so many of us here is that she's also the owner and principal of not one, but two successful performing arts schools, Elite's Youth Theatre and Emerald Academy of Performing Arts. She knows what it's like to run classes, manage parents, and lead a team, all while figuring out how to show up and be visible online. This is a conversation about strategy, yes, but also about confidence, boundaries, creativity, and what it really looks like to build a business that fits you. Whether you love social media or loathe it, Audrey's approach is a breath of fresh air, calm, practical, and deeply human. Audrey Elizabeth, welcome to the Acting Coach Network podcast.
Thank you so much. What an introduction. I'm very excited to be here. I just feel like I love these conversations because I don't often actually get in front to speak on social media about theatre schools as well. So I'm really, really excited to be here.
Well, that's fantastic. Great to hear. I want to get straight to the point. Let's not waste any time. You have been in the performing arts world since your teens. So can you take us back to where your journey all began and how it led you to where you are now?
So for me, I've always been a dancer, like as a child, and I was a competitive dancer. I wasn't in the theatre world until I was about 16. Probably actually 17. So it's quite late coming into the theatre world. So I was always a dancer and I was performing a dance show and I got scouted to go into this theatre company. And within there, I was very lucky that the people that were the actual teachers, they were like, it was run by youth leaders and they set me for my dance teacher qualification at 16. So I lived in Ireland at the time. I'm based in the UK now. But basically I was able to become a qualified dance teacher at 16, not knowing that's what I was going to do. I'm so grateful. And I think those early moments are things that like stay with you, because one of my values now is to give those opportunities to my young people in my studio and send them off for like qualifications and stuff, whether they use it or not. So I became qualified quite early. I kept performing until I was about 21, which is still very early to stop, but my passion was in teaching. Like I was teaching from a young age, helping out and stuff. So yeah, from there I actually got offered to take over a well-established theatre school when I was 17. There was like 140 students in it and I was like, I have no idea how to put on a show. Like I teach dance, like we go to competitions, and at the time I was in the chorus of a pantomime. And the choreographer was like, you would be crazy to turn down this opportunity. So this actual school would always belong to the community centre and then they would employ me to run it. So I took it, but I was absolutely terrified. But it was there that I found my passion. And I'm the type of person who wants to know everything. I was like, I'm not just coming in as the choreographer. I want to know about lighting plots, stage it. Like I want to know everything. So within a year or two, like I was on competitions with other theatre schools. Like we just took it to the next level. So I was there for years. I also opened up my own school then, where it was mainly focused on dance competitively. That was for about 12 or 13 years, and then I moved country, and honestly leaving my theatre school and my dance schools was harder than leaving my family. Like it was literally like leaving a part of my soul in Ireland, and my gorgeous friends took it over and still run it today, which is incredible. When I first moved to the UK, I thought I was done with teaching. I went to uni actually as a mature student to study health and social care. So I moved to the UK thinking, okay, I'm going to get into this now, like, you know, I'm not starting all over again. I missed it straight away. I was like, I don't know who I am. So I start freelancing, just teaching here and there. And I just think I was just like, no, like the way they do things isn't really my style. I'll just do one class a week. I'll set up one little local class a week. And over time that developed into like 15, 16 classes a week, 2 separate schools, teaching full time for another school. And yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. So it's been, it's just always been part of my life. Like I just don't know who I am without it.
What a journey. Imagine being offered a school when you're 17. That is remarkable. So we have heard all about how that came about, but it was around 2020, I believe, that you kind of were drawn to the online space. So what did draw you there and what kept you there?
So I set up my skills over here. Everything was going great. I was also working part-time and I loved that as well. And this is the thing about multi-passionate people, is like trying to make decisions when you're so passionate about everything that you do. And I feel like this is going to be a through line of what we talk about today. Basically, what happened for me was a year before the pandemic, voluntary redundancy came up as an opportunity in my employment. So I took it and I was like, right, I'm just going to stick full-time teaching. That's what I'm meant to be doing. But then during COVID, the way the tax and the way the grants worked, because I was employed the year before, I was paying tax and self-employment tax as well, but I was earning more as an employee. So I wasn't entitled to any of the grants, but I wasn't an employee anymore. So I wasn't earning any money. So I literally had zero income. I was just one of those unlucky people who
you fell through that gap. Yeah. I know a few people that were in a very similar situation. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Now, luckily,
Audrey,
my husband is employed, so that was all good. But then he ended up losing his job during the pandemic as well. So we were really, we really were like, what the hell are we going to do? So I set up a pajama subscription box first of all. Okay, so I thought that'd be fun.
Yes, I love these.
Yeah, so it's pajama subscription, self-care. Perfect for the time we were in. Like, it took off really well, because what woman doesn't like pajamas, especially when you can't leave your house? But I had no idea about running a product business because I never done it. So I went onto Facebook and I was like, how to run a product business? And I ended up joining a Facebook group which invited me into this online space. So it wasn't actually what I was looking for, but it's what I found. And I remember the person running that group, because I just had my mind blown about what I considered a business, because even though I had businesses, I never saw myself as a business owner, ever. I just saw myself as a teacher, like a theatre school teacher, theatre school owner. And I think this is so important for what you do, is to, like, we run businesses, but I never treated it like a business, and was in a real place of like, what the hell am I going to do? And I just remember in 2020 just being like, I don't know how, but I'm never ever going to be in this situation again. So once I found that online space, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. I started to see how I could put more of my skill set forward. So I had a few different things. I had the pajama subscription going. I also set up, probably around 2021, I started doing a bit of social media management for a few people. But when we dipped our toes back into classes, I noticed my teens were different. And I was like, these young people are not the same. Obviously, I've worked in schools, health and social care. So I set up a TikTok and it was called the Teen Guide, and it was emotional well-being, mental health, anxiety kind of thing. And it blew up basically. And I was like, whoa, what is going on here? And it was really, really good. And it helped a lot of people, because I was in this Facebook group about the online business aspect, a bit of social media management. People started saying, how are you using TikTok? This is 2021. Businesses were like, can you help me with TikTok? Can you help me with TikTok? So I've kind of became the TikTok coach type of thing, video content coach. And it just escalated from there. So I started off as social media management, a little bit of coaching, and I opened up an agency because I didn't want to do the management anymore. I preferred the coaching. And the thing that really has kept me here is how creative we get to use our creative brains in the online space as well. And I never felt like I would find something like that again. And I had this real moment of feeling fulfilled in a way that fulfills me when you put on a show. When you're standing there and you're looking at your overall product at the end of a show. I never thought I would find that in another space. And also, first of all, my knees didn't hurt as much anymore because I'm not teaching 14 classes. So I know we'll get into all of that about building out teams and stuff like that. But really, the possibility is is probably the thing that kept me here. Is like the possibilities are endless in the online space. And I just love it. I love it so much.
Amazing. Oh, wow. You covered so much there. I just want to pick out like 3 major things that I think loads of people listening will really resonate with. First of all, I think I sort of said it, but I'm just so sorry that you had such a negative experience during the pandemic. I'm sure so many people will relate to that, especially performing arts business owners who might have been in one of those loopholes that weren't really covered. But then the part where you said about performing arts business owners not treating their businesses like a business because we love it, because it's our passion. And that's something that I'm really passionate about, that I want more people to realise that they need to treat their wonderful school like a business so that they can make more money, have a bit more time to themselves to spend with whoever they want to spend it with, and to avoid that horrible, buzzword that we're hearing so much all the time now, burnout. And then also about the children being different after COVID. I couldn't agree with you more. And it's still happening 5 years later. I'm still seeing it. And a lot of students we're getting where have just gone, oh, could we just rearrange that session? Unfortunately, we won't be able to do that face to face. Could we just do that online? And the parents have said, I just can't get my child to go online. And then the third thing about something that has kept you in the online space, about the possibilities being endless. Something else that I really want to touch on more in future episodes is all about creating additional income strands to your performing arts business so that it is a little bit more pandemic proof or anything else that might happen in the future, because everyone did so well with transitioning and putting their classes online, but obviously a lot of these young people were then totally burnt out and just couldn't engage for long periods of time with online sessions. With my business, we mainly teach one-to-one, not too much of an issue, but these enormous group classes of like dance classes, it's just not sustainable to do that for a long period of time, is it? So I love that you were like, I'm never going to let myself get into this situation again. I'm going to make sure that I've got a business that is, bulletproof essentially. And that's what's great about the online space, isn't it? That you can keep reinventing the wheel as well. You mentioned that you're a multi-passionate person, which I love. I love that so much. You've mentioned before that you didn't think that you could be so passionate about something that wasn't in the dance and performing arts space. So what has it been like, or what has your biggest challenge been finding your voice outside of the studio? So can you talk about that and how you've built your confidence in the online space?
Yeah, I think it's so different. And I can break this down into 3 kind of parts, because I think we see our people every day in your theatre school, in your dance class, whatever it may be. And we're feeding off that energy, like we were talking about, like the energy in the room, we're able to motivate and we're able to like settle a class down when we need to. But in the online space, like when you're talking to a camera, it's just like completely different. And I just think like, you're so safe in your space. Like, you've built this already. You're stepping in, even if you're putting on a show and you might be a bit nervous talking at the end, but you're talking to your people on an end product. The difference with the online space is that you haven't shown that end product yet. It's earlier in the stages, and it's you. There's such a difference. I went through this as well. Like, I put so much pressure on myself to speak on camera. The pressure being that I was afraid people would be saying, she has a theatre background, she's going to be great on camera. It's completely different, And I think I really want to drill that home, that if you're like I should be better than this into camera, like I'm a drama teacher or whatever it may be, it's completely different to speak to a camera than to act on stage. And people will find...
Completely agree.
But I remember like being frustrated with myself, saying, I don't know why this is. Like, I can perform in front of thousands, it's so different. But also another thing that's different about it is that, well, I'll start off where this really starts showing up for me. When I was social media manager for an online mentor, and she was quite big in the industry, and I would put forward really bold ideas, really good concepts, like something totally different, and it really worked for her and had a massive impact in her launches. When I went more into my coaching side, I didn't notice straight away that I wasn't willing to do those ideas myself. I was playing it safe, and I think that's like a key part for people who are like, even like for your theatre school, like, why can I do this and I can't do this part? Because when you're putting your face to it, it's like a new layer of vulnerability. It's like a personal brand. Putting your face as the brand is very, very different to like even showing up talking about a class that you're offering. it's so different. And I don't think I don't think there's enough awareness around that. And then people put pressure on themselves or like shame themselves for it. And this is like, I'm in the online space 5 years. So I've had a lot of realizations and they still happen today. Literally a few months ago, I was like putting out a bold, reveal, reel, and the same patterns were coming up, like the same limiting beliefs. And it's not that they'll ever completely go away, but you just know, you catch them and you know how to help with that.
Yeah. So do you think that a lot of theatre school owners particularly, and I'm sure it will translate into other sectors, but with performing arts business owners, most of them will come from some sort of performing arts background? Not all. So are used to being on stage and, as you said, performing in front of thousands of people. But as soon as they've got to show up as themselves, that's where they're like, oh, and that's where they lack the confidence. Because when you're on stage, you know, usually in some sort of persona, playing a character. I've got a client at the moment who is doubting her abilities when it comes to talking to parents and communicating with them, because she's so used to being a character in class and, you know, telling stories and things and communicating with children, that as soon as she comes to communicate with parents and has to be, you know, what she calls, you know, a professional businesswoman, she feels like, oh, that's where the confidence lacks. So it's very interesting, isn't it?
I experienced that as well. You know, this school I took over, I was only 17, but I got myself in there with the children and the students. Like the students, senior class were the same age as me, like, so, but all that was fine. But when I had to speak to parents is when I struggled. I'd get a rash all over my neck. Like I had no trust in my voice at all. And I remember so vividly, like we went to the World Performing Arts Championships in Los Angeles, and I remember pitching that to the parents and literally had tears in my eyes, like just please trust in me. Like it was awful. So I completely get where your client is coming from, and I'd say a lot of people are listening being like, yeah, it's so relatable, whether it's like talking to parents, maybe you've overcome that, but then like really wondering why it's so hard to like speak on camera. Like, shouldn't I be able to do this? No, like actually, I have a funny story. I got so used to delivering masterclasses then on Zoom, everyone's on mute and it was all good. I was in my flow, found my voice. The first time I spoke on stage and I said something with my witty personality, but when people laughed, I got a fright because I forgot what it felt like to have feedback. I was like, oh God, like I'm like, that's so bizarre.
Because that's the other thing about speaking to your camera in the comfort of your own home or wherever you are, that you don't get any instant feedback. The feedback comes once you've posted the content online, and sometimes you might get really positive feedback, sometimes you might get really negative feedback, and it's how you handle that. But also you might just not get any feedback at all, and then, you know, people might not engage with your content. But also, if you think about it, when you're training to be a performer, acting for stage, acting for screen, two totally different techniques. So it all makes complete sense, in my opinion. So you also have shared a little bit that you got to a stage, and I've heard this so many times and I've been there myself, where you've lost your spark for teaching. How did you know that it was time to maybe take a step back, and what helped you to find your passion again?
I always feel my answers have so many layers. I'm like, well, but really one of the first things was 2020, like coming back after the pandemic, where I found this online space and I was like making loads of money, and it was like, it felt like so much easier to make that kind of money, not the actual work, but I found it a lot easier. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm at home every evening now with my family. Like, do I want to go back to teaching this many classes? And I always had this thing that, like, when it comes to a crossroad of making a decision, that I struggle to make that final decision. And then once I do it, it's like weight off the shoulders. And I kept saying, yeah, no, I think maybe I'll even just close one school. It wasn't really an option to get a team in. Like, I'm an all-in type of person. I was just like, oh no, like this possibly couldn't work if I wasn't here. Obviously, that's not the case. Like, I have a team now, but that's where my mind was at. And especially if any listeners are in the early stages of the online space, I feel like you come in and you're trying to consume as much information as possible. And I remember one thing that kind of was cemented into me was that, like, you need to be all in. You need to be all in, and kind of made me feel that if I had this other business, I wasn't all in the online business. And it was almost like I had to choose. I don't know, it was a weird feeling that was like, oh, you can't be like teaching on a Monday and then like hosting for like high paying clients on a Tuesday. Like, it was ridiculous. Obviously I realized that is ridiculous, but I did have this moment of no one going all in on this business. So at that time, one of my skills, I decided to bring in a team, and I think the way I navigated it was having a very long transition period. So we actually put a show on together in transition rather than just having a term transition, so she could see how I put the actual show together as well, not just how classes are run, and that went really, really well. So when we came back, it was a fresh term, it was a fresh show, it was a fresh everything. So it made that a lot easier. But I definitely had struggles with finding the right people. I think my biggest advice there would be is, I think I probably put a lot of pressure on teachers to be as passionate about it as me, like, but it's my baby, and it's like, I didn't realize straight away, well, this isn't but like, you know, they're not going to have that same. If you can find someone trustworthy and shows interest in where the school is going, oh my gosh, cling on to them, because it took me a while to find the right people. And then the second time, so that was fine. One school, I have a team in place, everything was great. So my other school is a competitive performing arts school. So we put on an hour-long variety show, like all in, multidiscipline, and we compete against other hour shows. That is my niche. Like, that is what, like, I love, because you're coming up with wild concepts, and like, it's just amazing. I love it. And in 2023, won that event. So we went to Ireland and we won the whole thing. And that, I was running that school with somebody else, and we ended up having a business partner split, but it wasn't pleasant. And it was that was the second time where I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't worth my energy, my time. Like, I had a confidence knock, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I made a promise to myself that the students in that school had been with me for like over 10 years. I was like, I'm not going out on a negative. I'll do one more year, and we'll have a great fun year, and then we can finish in a nice place, you know. But during that year, I found my spark again, and I was just like, no, this is what I'm building. I actually had to rebuild, because I lost a lot of students during that time as well. So I rebuilt, restructured, have another team, like more people in there helping me as well, and just like so grateful that I didn't give in on a negative time. Like, it would have been very easy to say, no, I'm done. So if anyone's ever like thinking, no, I'm done, like, just, I always say I'm not finishing on a bad note. Like, it's something you've done for so long. Like, I want, not even just for the students, actually for me as well, because that would be like the end of my teaching that I'm doing for, we won't calculate the years, but a lot of years. That was like, no, like, this has to end in a way that feels good. But I actually found my spark again. We're not closing.
I love that. And what advice would you give to someone struggling with thinking about building a team? Because you said, I didn't think at first that it would function without me. And I think that is absolutely every single theatre school owner's concern when they start to build a team. It was mine, and I didn't need to worry. But if there's a person that's a bit of a one-person band at the moment, they're the only teacher in their school, what advice would you give to them thinking about building a team now?
I think that like having that transition period, like bringing people in with you into the classes, is what got me over that. Like, obviously there's loads of strategies that you could do, but literally the thing that works for me is bringing somebody in alongside me, and then I would slowly step back and they would do a little bit more, but they were picking up on how I like to run classes as well. So they were bringing their new energy, but also some of the like values of mine as well. And I think that's important, is to align with somebody that has the same values. Like, when you think of all the different types of schools, like, they all have different reasons to be great, and they're all great for different things. So you want to make sure that that teacher is in that same alignment. And obviously, like, one of the best things about it has been, she's a lot younger than me. Like, so coming in with that freshness was great, because like, we may think we're the best, but it was just so good to have like a fresh pair of eyes and a fresh like energy coming into the school, new ideas, new things. So yeah, my advice definitely would be to bring them in and let them co-work alongside you. I know it's not always possible depending on finances and stuff. I remember I put that as a suggestion in one of the Facebook forums, and like, people came at me saying, how privileged are you that like you have the finances? But that's why we need side hustles as well, because it was actually my online business that was able to support me during that transition as well.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but if you've got people coming at you saying that clearly says a lot about what position their school is in. And, you know, as you say, you've got to find all those additional income strands, and you've got to be treating your business like a business, because every new person I've brought on, I have learnt so much from them. I've become a better teacher because of having a great team of people around me, and the students have thrived because they have been able to be exposed to so many other amazing people and get that fresh energy that you're just talking about. And I use the word thrive because I really want to move on now to talk a little bit more about your social media strategy company, Audrey. So let's talk about your Thrive Zone concept. Tell us, what is it? And how can creative business owners find theirs?
I love how, like, you're so theatrical in your delivery. I love it.
MT girl through and through, darling. That's it.
Love it. Okay, so Thrive Zone is something I've only brought to the forefront this year, but it's been in my world for a long time. So, like, clients. So I see it as not even just a concept. I see it as a movement. And we have touched on this a little bit. Like, when I came into the online space, I had a business for years, but I was like constantly chasing new strategy, new foundations, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. It came to a point where my brain was so full of what everyone else was telling me to do that I completely lost trust in my own ideas, especially as a creative person. I was following all these rules to the point of like, I don't even know who I am or what to even post about anymore. So I really looked at how I overcame that to deliver this Thrive Zone. So Thrive Zone to me is like, you know, when you just feel it in your bones, you know, when you come up with an idea and you're so excited to get it out there, whether that's content, whether that's a show, whether it's choreography or an offer or whatever it may be, this is going to work for every industry, everyone. And you feel it and you're so excited to do it. What has happened for a lot of online business owners is they still have that, but then they run it by ChatGPT. They look for inspiration. They look at other people talking about it, and slowly and surely the idea is getting watered down. So Thrive Zone is really about tapping back into that feeling, that excitement, that original idea, and how we can execute that, how we can put that into your product suite, into your content, into your messaging, whatever it may be. Maybe it's like the way you want to launch something. So it really focuses on 3 core areas, and it sounds so simple, but there's a lot of psychology and stuff behind it, but it's really tapping into who you are, who the person is that you're talking to, and your unique way. Because they're like, after 5 years in the industry, they're the 3 things that anytime I feel stuck on something, challenge shows up, I need to lean into one of those 3 things. At the start of the year, so this was always like my messaging framework. So I help a lot of clients with their messaging in particular, and it was always the messaging framework. And then earlier on in the year, I was like, this is actually how I live my life. These are the things that, like, even navigating relationships. So like, it's not just about everything being great and rosy all the time. Like, I'm not about that. I'm very real that challenges are still going to show up. And I even said it on this, like, limiting beliefs still show up, but it's what we do with it. And Thrive Zone to me is like looking at the challenge that is in front of it and connecting it back to where you're going. So knowing what's on the other side of that, and is that worth overcoming then? And honestly, I use this with like relationships with family. I'm like, this is hard. Like, this, we're struggling with this a while. Like, what's on the other side of this? Is it worth my energy? Do I want to keep fighting for it? Same if you're thinking about leaving theatre school or teaching or getting a team. Yeah, this is hard to find the right teacher, but what's on the other side of that? Is that worth it? Okay, I'm willing to keep going. And then we have the strategies in place to mend those kind of things and get clearer and have the bridge to where you want to go to. So yeah, Thrive Zone is a movement. I am so passionate about people showing up as themselves. Like, because I've experienced that part that where I've lost a bit of myself, lost that self-trust, especially for theatre school owners. Our minds are different. Our mind is programmed differently, and trying to fit that into this framework, into this strategy. This is how you have to launch. This is how you have to post. Of course, the strategy involved. I am a strategy girl through and through, but it's just about in a way that lights you up, that feels so good to you, and you're like so excited to get it out there.
Amazing, because then when you're showing up as your authentic self and being you, people are going to want to buy more from you because people buy from people they know, like, and trust, and all of that sort of thing. And I think it can be so noisy, can't it? It can be so noisy out there. And I think one of the niche problems that theatre school owners have as well is that they need their content to resonate with young people, but also with the parents who are going to be paying for the sessions. So it's quite a difficult target audience wants to get to. It's just so great. There's so much passion there, Audrey. I think people would just be able to get that from you, even from an online call with you. Do you know what I mean? It comes through so well. But obviously you've coached so many people on their marketing and showing up confidently. So is there anything else that you think really helps people feel more like themselves when they show up online?
Yes, I honestly, it's looking at the things you're doing that's stopping you. So a lot of times it's comparison. Like, if you're thinking of a concept or an idea or a new class or whatever it may be, one of the first things we naturally do is go look at somebody else who's doing that. What way is she saying it? And it's same in online business. You're looking at other sales pages and comparing. So definitely pulling back on consuming content. And also, I think as well, allowing space for your own ideas to come through. Like you said, it's so noisy online. You can literally get dopamine hit after dopamine hit. And we're actually not giving ourselves time for ideas to actually come through, especially for people listening who are theatre school owners. Like, we know ideas for shows and concepts come at the most random times, but then when we try plug that into marketing our business, we sit down with the laptop and the notebook and we're like so focused on it and we're like, oh, I don't know what to say, and it becomes really stuck. Where I think actually if you just pull back, stop consuming other people's content and really allow space for ideas to come up. But on a more tangible, it's like being able to know what you bring to the table. That's probably like the biggest thing for me, being able to show up like more boldly. Like, my content is quite bold, especially if I'm revealing a new offer and stuff. A limiting belief that comes up for me is like, oh, who does she think she is? Like, that's what people are going to say. Who does she think she is? And I've always had that limiting belief. Earlier on this year, I released a reveal that was like quite cinematic, and I released a documentary that was like, well, a docu-series that really went through all my limiting beliefs, all the things I had to unlearn in the industry. And the trailer of it was quite bold, and I remember thinking, oh, they're going to be like, who does she think she is? And then I had to tap back into my own thrive zone. One part of it, what makes you different? And you need to be able to look in the mirror and say, this is who I am. Like, you need to be able to answer that question. Who does she think she is? This is who I am. So, and it goes across any industry, any niche. Like, what is it about your school or your classes or whatever it may be that is different to somebody else's? Like, what are you bringing to the table? And when people say, what makes you different, it's not like it needs to be something that no one's ever heard of. I think that's helpful as well to know. It's not like something wildly out there. But yeah, to show up more as yourself is really understanding yourself more and what you bring to the table, and less comparison, and allowing that bit of space for ideas to flourish.
Comparison is the thief of joy, isn't it? So I love that phrase, and I tell myself that quite a lot, because I'm not too bad with the comparison thing, but I do sit a lot and think, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to say. My next question was going to be, what would you say to somebody who's thinking, I don't know what makes me different? But I feel like you've answered that, because it doesn't have to be wildly unique. It can be similar to what other people are doing, but you just have to tap into your values. So even as you were talking there, I was thinking, yeah, I think I've got some other ideas there.
Yeah.
just in the little 10-second moment there.
Write that down. Yeah. I think sometimes if you are thinking, saying, I don't know what makes me different, sometimes you can't see it because it's so second nature to you that you actually don't even know it's a skill.
That is such a good point.
Yeah.
Yes, because we think, because we're in our niche all the time, we just think that everybody knows that. And the amount of times I've said things to people and they're like, oh yeah, good point. And vice versa. You've gone, other people don't know that, do they?
Yeah. So, like, honestly, and
such a good
like,
point.
so if you think about things that people do say to you, maybe it's parents, maybe it's students, maybe it's other schools, like whatever it may be, just if you start looking out for that, like, what are they saying beyond, oh, she was great in our show? Do you know what I mean? Like, I love the way you do this. I love the way she comes here or he comes here and feels this. And you will start to see threads and you're like, oh, I've never really like led with this. I've never really. So like, I know a theatre school that I work with, they have a massive focus on community engagements, like, and going to different events and like nursing homes and like festivals. And there was none of that in the content. It's a very close-knit community. And I'm like, the neighbourhood needs to know that that is a value of yours, because there's other schools who I don't do much in the community, to be honest. So like, that's a difference right there. And she never spotted it. And she was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, people want to join because you want to take part in the community events. So it could be something right in front of you that you're just too close to seeing. Yeah, so thinking about what people are saying to you outside of like the obvious results you help people get.
Yeah, getting that external feedback is so important, isn't it? One of your phrases, Audrey, has been the challenge is the way. So can you share a time? You've already shared some great challenges for us to learn from, but can you share a time that felt especially hard but led to something really important or really unexpected?
I think the hardest challenge, and I have touched on it a little bit, but the hardest challenge I've ever gone through was the business partner split. Like, because it knocked me for six. It was unexpected. It was a bit of a hate campaign. Like, they tried to tarnish my name, all of this, and it knocked me so much that I didn't actually realise that kind of leaked into my online business as well. I was still showing up, I was still selling, I was still serving my clients, but that boldness, that edginess was dampened for a little while. And I just remember like not understanding, like I just couldn't understand. But anyway, the thing that came out of that, not only just finding my spark, but actually, I always say a lot of my clients are giving their power away, and I gave my power away for that first initial couple of weeks when this was happening. And the best thing about it was finding how to take my power back. And that did not have anything got to do with anybody else. It was about how can I take my power back for me. And I honestly feel like that challenge, that time, helps me with this tribe zone thing as well. Like, it all fits into this. It's like, how can you take your power back and not give it away to other people? So for example, just to like really solidify that, in that time, I set up a separate TikTok account for choreographers, and I would just share ideas like if you're using this song, or if you wanted to use this prop, or, you know, like just really creative ideas, because that is my thing, is like how original and creative I think. So I'm like, it wasn't even about anybody else or anything that happened, but it was actually me taking my power back. And then that fed into my studio as well. And my students are different now from the ones that were there before, and not because of the teaching or anything else, but I just think I have come in with a different energy and a different perspective on things, because this is a competition school, so we're always striving for a win, and we got the win, but it was taken away so quickly. I really feel that one of the greatest lessons I learned there was like, it's not always about getting to the goal, it's actually the process. And the slogan, the tagline for my theatre school is, the magic is in the process. It's not just about winning that trophy, it's about the whole year we take to put on this hour-long, big, massive production. And I will never lose sight of that. And I bring that into my online business as well. Like, I have big visions, big goals, like we're moving, but I'm also so happy and so thriving in my tribe zone on exactly where I am now. So it's like, when we start comparing, like tying all this together, everything we've talked about, it's like, where am I giving my power away, and how can I take it back, and how can I do things for me in a way that serves me and my team, because nothing else really matters.
Absolutely. What a great story. That was very powerful. I love that. So my next question is, what does resilience look like for you now? And I imagine that particular scenario really tested your resilience and showed you what resilience can look like. So how has that changed for you over the years? I
suppose it's like, again, with the tribe zone concept, is like looking at those challenges that are worth overcoming. Like, resilience to me is that, like, it's not trying to avoid challenges and obstacles, because you're never going to get there. Like, they're always going to show up in different ways, but it's like how quick you can overcome it. Like, something a lot of my clients do is that they'll show up with a challenge, but straight away, like once you've been working together, straight away, here's what I'm doing about it. It's not like staying there. Obviously we're allowed to feel our feelings, but this is what I'm doing about it. So resilience to me is the actions. You feel your feelings, but the actions you're going to take to overcome the obstacle, and also then like what's worth overcoming and what actually just needs to be left behind in the past. Like,
what's not worth dwelling over.
It happens so many times in theatre schools. Like, maybe a class, like one particular class isn't filling up, and you like really want it, and you really want it, And it's like, okay, I'm putting all my energy in here. Do I want to really build this? Do I want to keep focusing on this one class? Or maybe I'll double up on this other class. And there is no right or wrong answer. It's going to be individual, I believe. So it's like, okay, this is a challenge to fill up. I'm not filling it up. This is like, how can I be resilient around this? To me, it's like, well, is that challenge worth it? Like, do we want to keep fighting on it because you know it's on the other side or not?
Yeah, great point. Really well related to what a lot of people are probably struggling with. And do you think with this kind of mindset, do you think more creatives are realizing their skills can translate into something bigger than just the studio or room that they teach in?
I don't know. I think we need more people like you out there showing people that they can, to be honest, because
Thank you.
honestly, I don't know. Like, I'm not in a big network of theatre school owners, to be honest. Like, I do kind of like keep to myself kind of thing. So I don't know what the conversation is around there. But like some of the forums and stuff that I see, when people are having wobbles and having struggles and not knowing if they want to keep going, or maybe it's financial that they might have to pull back, they always say, I might just go and get a 9 to 5 or whatever. Like, I don't see somebody else saying, what else can I do? Obviously I see some, but like the majority, it's like, I might just go get a normal job, in quotes, if you're listening to this. But so I don't know is my honest answer if people are, but I hope more and more people are seeing that, because our skills are so transferable. Like, honestly, like I just think like it actually sets us miles ahead, to be honest, because if you can run a school with so many moving parts, there are many, many things you can do in the online industry.
Absolutely. And just even putting on a show is like an initiation in itself, isn't it? Even if you're a seasoned pro, you've got so many skills. I think that is coming. I think that people are finding their voices a little bit more, but I would love to see more theatre school owners being more open about what the struggles are that they're facing and what other skills they can show that they've got, and just being a bit more confident and proud of what they've achieved. But my other mission is to get people earning more money and being less busy so that they're delegating more to other people.
Sorry, can I ask?
So go on,
So
go for it.
like, is your main thing helping people set up extra businesses or building the business that they have?
Mainly building the business that they have, but something I want to move into in the future is the ones where maybe they've hit a bit of a ceiling and there's not much more growth to be had, i.e. the next step would be to franchise, but they don't want to do that. And then looking at different ways to diversify their school and how they could have some other sort of passive income. Because, you know, imagine all the lesson plans that are out there that are just sitting in people's inboxes or sitting in people's Google Drives that aren't being used by anybody else, that could be sold, for example. But a lot of theatre schools, I think, could be a lot more profitable, and a lot more teachers could be less burnt out if they delegated more jobs to people that are much better at them. For example, the admin side of things, marketing, social media. I always think that the theatre school owner should be the one showing up in the content, but you don't have to be the face in every single piece of content that you post. And you could be filming it, but someone else could be helping write the copy and scheduling it all for you, couldn't they? Which I don't need to tell you about that, because that's your realm. As a theatre school owner, you wear so many hats, don't you? You're the first port of call, but you should have somebody doing your accounts, you should have somebody doing your marketing, replying to emails, and if you're still teaching, you know, and you should just be focusing on the teaching bit and then recruiting that team. That's where I'm at with where people should be, so that they can enjoy their life and not be chained to their job all day, every day. But if you could give one piece of advice, Audrey, because we're going to sort of wrap things up now, if you could give some advice to a fellow creative who's feeling stuck or unsure right now, what would it be?
I think anytime I feel stuck or unsure, it's like, how can I get that clarity? And that can be a different thing, a multitude of different things, like booking a 1-to-1, a power hour. Like, there's people like me, Savannah, like this is what we do, like a clarity call where there's so much can be done in that 1 hour to help you become unstuck. But also, if it's in something new or something you're trying within your business, I think a lot of times we can just only focus on the end goal because we're used to like producing shows and that is the end goal. But when you're trying something new, there's so many moving parts and you might not have the answers to them all yet. So sometimes we need to just take it step by step. You might be stuck in getting it to the end thing, but you might know how to make the next thing happen. So maybe it's moving something into an online space, but you can't figure out all of the tech yet. You don't need to figure it all out in one go, just step by step, slowly, surely. So it's finding clarity and taking things step by step, because you don't have to have all the answers right now to move forward, just bit by bit. Honestly, if we had so much more time, I've been through so much in the last 5 years, and I just want to be the evidence of someone who didn't treat their theatre school like a business. Wasn't even much profit there. I paid myself a wage, basically. It wasn't scalable. To someone who came into the online space as social media manager, worked our way up, and now like serving hundreds of clients, doing something that I'm so passionate about. As someone who didn't trust their voice, as someone whose voice was shaken when I was sharing my first video. Like, I really just want to. A lot of people say, oh, but you're so confident. Like, you're so confident. Trust me, I wasn't. I was not when I first came on. So I really hope that resonates and gives somebody the, oh, she can do it, I can do it, because I was terrified.
I think that is truly inspirational, Audrey. I think so many people will take so much from that. They will really resonate, they will feel really seen and will feel really reassured that they're not the only person. And I think it just calls for getting you back on, really, to do another episode at a later date to talk about that angle instead, you know. But Audrey, honestly, thank you so much. This has been amazing. So many nuggets of wisdom. You've been really generous with your time and your advice. So thank you so much. Where can people find out more about your work if they'd like to connect with you or work with you? Where can we find you?
The best place to find me is on Instagram at Audrey_the social coach. And if you want to experience some of my work, I have a 2-part masterclass that I think is perfect for anyone who's like looking at their marketing, looking at the way they're showing up. So it kind of covers your leadership. So like how you're presenting yourself online as the school to go to or the class or whatever it may be. Because a lot of times we like so afraid to be bold that we dull down actually how bloody brilliant you are and how good your school is. So it really focuses, it's called Turn It Up. So it's turning up the dial on your leadership, your authority, and your content and the message behind your content as well. So it's a great place to look at. It's 2 masterclasses and there's 2 weeks worth of content prompts then as well. So it'll give you a real taste of my world and like that energy, that Thrive Zone energy that I'm always leading with. But if something has resonated, do come over and DM me, like, because as I said, I don't talk to theatre school owners that much, so like I love the chats.
Amazing. Clicks, link and purchases immediately. We'll put all of that in the show notes, Audrey, so that people can come and find you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Acting Coach Network podcast. If you loved what you heard, make sure you're following. And if you've got a moment, I'd love for you to leave a quick review or share the episode with someone else in the industry who might need it. You can find me over on Instagram at the Acting Coach Network, where I share tips, behind the scenes content and support for growing your coaching business or creative career in a sustainable way. If you're curious about working together, you're very welcome to book a free 15-minute call with me, and you'll find my latest free resource linked in the show notes too. I'll be back soon with more real conversations, expert insights and tools to help you build a business you love. Until next time, keep going, stay kind to yourself, and I'll see you soon.